and welcome to a very special episode of This Car Pod.
I'm Kenan.
I'm Filippo.
And today, I'm not here. I'm here, right? But I'm not. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm out this week. I'm unavailable, so we're recording this episode early. And so we're not going to have our usual segments where we have the news and all this stuff because we can't talk. So instead, we're just going to do questions.
Oh.
This is going to be an entire episode of questions.
Good questions?
They're good questions. What these questions are is questions from previous weeks that I had on my list and we just didn't have time for. So now we're going to just do them all.
Wow, okay.
But before that happens, I want to share with you a little surprise.
Oh, man.
About a month ago, 2 months, I don't know, I get an email from Nissan.
Oh.
And they say, hey, we have a gift for you. And they describe the gift in the email. And I don't, do you know what this is?
I know from the internet what they're giving out.
I don't accept, generally, I don't care to receive gifts from the automakers. Although I do have Toyota Mirai cocktail napkins.
What?
That's pretty good.
You should question whether I reviewed the Mirai accurately because they bribed me with paper cocktail. They're not reusable.
Do they just have an outline of a Mirai?
It just says the word Mirai in their script.
Mirai?
The new one, the newest one.
The good-looking one.
It doesn't have a picture of the Mirai. It says Mirai in the Mirai script. Okay. And honestly,
ironically, like the water leaking out of the exhaust pipe.
They weren't actually even a gift. I stole them from what must have been a brunch or something because I didn't attend a dinner on that. Anyway, the point is, I don't take gifts from the automakers.
Yeah.
But Nissan sends me this letter, and I simply can't say no because they sent me, thank you for being part of our story. We appreciate your interest in the Nissan Z Nismo Precision Sushi Knife.
Yeah.
What?
And I'm like, they sent me this, and I was like, I can't say no to this. This is the single stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I must accept it. And so what I have in here is, wow. By the way, this is a gift, personal gift to me, okay? Nissan Z Nismo. Good. So it's a sushi knife with the Z logo on it.
Well, I mean, because you've been so generous as we talk about Nissan's great successes on the podcast
I actually
recently.
have been pretty generous to the Z, which I think is a pretty good car.
Wow, this is quite...
By the way, this is under embargo until March 21, so I hope to God...
It looks very sharp.
I mean, it says, warning, this knife is sharp.
Actually, there's a quick safety... Before you handle it, there's a quick safety notice in here. This knife is extremely sharp. Please handle it with care and store it responsibly. Nissan is not liable for any injuries resulting from its use.
By use, misuse, or abuse.
Which this is...
Don't abuse my knife. Listen, put that card back in here. This is OE. I have this OE in box.
Oh, I've taken it out of I've unboxed it.
In 75 years...
love that.
When you have a Nissan Z Nismo, you're going to... If you have the sushi knife that goes along with the car...
This is your F50 shoes moment. You have the most desirable...
If you have the sushi knife that goes along with the car, notice the Z logo. If you have the sushi knife that goes along with the car, your Z will be worth at least $75 more.
Are they giving this to Z owners?
No. They're only giving it to, I don't want to...
Esteemed journalists.
I don't want to say VIPs. I don't want to say it.
Right.
But I think Nissan said it, if you know what I mean.
Yep, ZIPs in their case. But that is quite something. I can't believe they sent this to you.
Are they pretending that there's a tie to this besides Japan?
I'm not sure.
Is it like metal that's also used in wood from
there's a chef
construction of the car.
There's a chef involved, and they point to his Instagram page. It's like a collab between them and some chef whose name is Hiroyuki Terada.
Sure, it says on the box.
But I can't. Oh, there's only 240 of these.
Whoa!
Tribute to the original 240Z. Don't get out of here, thieves.
Dang.
Okay.
Wow. 240.
240. One of 240 Nissan sushi knife situation.
I think this is a box guy.
Oh, wow. Look at this. It's got all the Z logos on it. 1969, 83, 90, 02, 09, and the new one.
Man, the PR person that put this together must have been so happy with themselves.
Well, as they should.
That's a nice sounding box.
This is a Z and Hiroyuki Terada.
The box sounded nice.
The box sounds nice. And I bet you this is made of the same wood that's in their cars. Yep. Plastic wood.
Filippo recognizes quality when he hears it.
Anyway, look, the point is, I just wanted to tell everybody that I'm a recipient of this gift because I wanted people to know how Nissan views me.
As a
What an
ZIP.
outrageous thing to send you.
It's insane. And again, I turned down a lot of these gifts, but
You can't turn that down. I agree.
So from now on, you should suspect any of my Z reviews because they've bribed me with this sushi knife.
Yeah, the next time they release an update to the Nissan Z,
Yeah.
you'll review it.
You never have to worry because there's never going to be another Z.
And maybe then it'll be chopsticks. Maybe it'll be an actual like samurai sword. It'll just keep getting more intense.
The knife's limited to 240 units, just like the car.
Demand limited.
They
we like
based
to
it on
say.
sales projection.
That's the sales projection for like second half of the year. Okay.
Nissan was so happy with you for like a minute.
All right. Move on. All right, we're going to do questions. This is question day for everybody. Woo!
All right, let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to choose these at random. There's 22. We're not going to even get to all of these.
Whoa.
Now, by the way, keep in mind, if you want to ask us questions, you can. You go to carsandbids.com, you click on the community tab, and there's a post there that says, ask us questions for the next pod, and we'll get to them. This pod is unusual because it's off schedule. But after this, we're going to go back to our normal question routine. Yeah. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Prepared.
Okay.
Is this a test or just questions?
No,
I feel pressure.
Okay, there's a few rankings that I'll intersperse throughout. Here's a good one. First question from a user whose name I'm not going to say on air. For everyone, this is a good one. If you had to pick a brand new car that was not sold in the U.S., which one would you get? Now, we constantly get asked, what car do you want to import?
Easy.
It's so easy.
So easy.
At 25, but if you had to pick a new one,
So
you're
easy.
both saying so easy, and I know you're thinking of different cars.
Yep. Oh,
So
could
different.
not be
Such
more
different cars.
Okay,
if it's
can
the
I
same?
guess?
Yeah, of course. It's not the same.
You are thinking of the Mitsuoka Buddy.
No.
Oh, come on. Yes,
Good.
you are.
No, I wish I had, but no.
You're thinking of the Buddy.
I do not want a
Pull up the
RAV4 that looks like a K5 Blazer. That's all you need to know about
Isn't that what we all want? Can I ask you a question?
UOKA.
Is there a
But then
functional
Buddy is,
Is there a functional difference between the Mitsuoka Buddy and the Bronco Sport?
yes, the Mitsuoka Buddy is based on a better car.
But you get my point. The Bronco Sport is a Ford Escape that looks like a Bronco. The Mitsuoka Buddy is a RAV4 that looks like a Blazer.
I
Chevy
oversimplified
wouldn't
it.
do it, so Toyota did.
I oversimplified it. It looks like a K5 Blazer with a Cadillac SRX tail.
Yeah, the
back end.
rear
It's-
is
the rear is-
Very SRX.
The whole thing is, but it's particularly unfortunate.
That is not the answer I had in mind.
You know,
I think
this
you can guess
car
it, though.
gets uglier every time we talk about
it really does.
We have talked about it before. I actually very much agree with this. It really does look worse. I use the same picture too.
For some reason, I always think it's just the front end. Anyway, what's your answer? Car you could import?
I want you to guess.
Jimny.
No.
Jimny's a good guess.
The Honda E.
No. Also no longer sold.
But
I would like a Peugeot 508 station wagon, please.
that's on sale?
Yeah.
Is it EUG? Yes, 507 wagon.
508. Come on, man. Give it the correct century.
Peugeot 507, 508 wagon. Is this electric?
It's plug-in. There are probably plug-in hybrid ones. Yes.
Okay, and you want this?
I do.
I presume that the top version of it is about 145 horsepower.
That's all you need.
145 horse, and you know what? There's a shifter guide that at 600 RPM it pops on and makes Filippo shift into
Small
second.
steering wheel.
Is that one of those ones that the
I
steering
think all the
wheel's
Peugeots are. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the opposite of skip shift. It makes you shift
It makes you shift into second really early.
Yes.
I think this is a great looking station wagon. There's a lot of great looking station wagons on the market in Europe right now.
This is a tremendously bland. Pull up a front. I mean, this is bland.
It's a good looking car.
It's a boring.
it's a
No, you know what?
car.
I have a word
shrouded
for
in
it.
mystery, but it's a good looking
It's
car.
fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I think it's a good looking
And
wagon.
Filippo's over here.
Kenan and I also have a European station wagon.
Yep.
Kenan, do you want to say it or me?
You go ahead.
The new M3 wagon.
Too much
One of
power.
the great mistakes of product planning is that BMW didn't sell this car here in the United. Too much power.
And not big
Too
enough.
much power. Oh my god.
Do they sell this with a stick? Is there not?
No, because it's comps only. So
That's
yeah.
too bad. But still, the new M3
The
wagon.
508 station wagon sold the stick.
Oh,
by the
that
way.
is so cool.
508. I would rather have this with a tip than a 508 wagon with front-wheel drive, a plug-in hybrid system, and 131 horsepower
Respectfully disagree.
from a 1.6-liter
Well,
two-cylinder.
he disrespectfully. that's a serious.
That is your
that's
answer,
a serious.
right? That's what you were going to say.
No, Gordon Murray T33 is the answer. Like
That's
that car.
sold here.
No, it isn't.
They're going to do it show or
It's show or display. That
That's
means
the
it's not
same
sold. That
thing.
means it's
for
not
God's
sold
sake,
here.
I drove around in an SP3. I drove
car's
around.
not sold here.
I drove around Bell Gardens in an SP3. I almost got knifed to death, but I did survive it.
I'm glad that you.
You know, I'm glad you said the 33. I don't know why you didn't say the 50.
Yeah, why not the 50?
Which is a choice.
Because I think the 33 is prettier and like more easy to use and like.
Oh sure, yeah. Famously, a car that's going to be easy to.
Well, it is.
pretty-
The 50 is you have to sit in the middle.
Go up. What's happening? Oh my God! Go down. Oh my God! Okay, what's happening there? Is that there's a luggage compartment in there?
Yeah, and it opens up like this.
Do you agree with me that luggage is?
Well, that's clearly that's not a real image.
No, I mean it doesn't have handles.
Well, yes, it would be difficult to carry. No, you just carry on with no handles. Gordon Murray's all about saving weight. Exactly. You work on your biceps.
You know what? You don't even need the luggage because you're all about saving weight when you travel.
Yeah, T30. The T50 I like, but I don't. It's not as pretty as this car. I think the T33 is better looking.
Boy, I tell you something, if this car came out tomorrow from an unknown hypercar company that was claiming to build a car, I wouldn't give it a second look. But because it's Gordon Murray,
it has that spectacular, naturally
which is made by
V12.
Cosworth. Why don't you just get a B5 RS4?
Because it doesn't have a V12 in it.
So you think, but it's got something for Cosworth.
Cosworth is not enough. It must have 12 cylinders, individual throttle bodies.
I got ITBs in my
yeah.
Countach.
Well, all right. Actually, I think the Courage GT might have ITBs. Maybe not, but my car certainly does.
All right, good choices all.
Okay, that was a good question, and we've all made good choices. I believe that Kenan and I won. This isn't a game show, but
I think we could say that, yeah.
Buying a brand new car right off the lot can be thrilling, but negotiating the deal, not so much. Dealers have all the info, you've got sticker shock, and only a rough idea of what a good deal really means. That's why I love our sponsor, CarEdge. If you're car shopping and dreading the dealership dance, CarEdge offers 2 services that can completely change the game. First, there's concierge. Think of it as your personal car buying expert. You're paired with a dedicated concierge who works exclusively for you, not the dealership. They'll help you find the right car, negotiate a fair deal, and guide you through every step, making the entire process clear and stress-free. If you've already found the car you want, use Negotiation Expert. Just send CarEdge the VIN, and their experts will take over, negotiating directly with the dealer to get you the best price and terms. No pressure, no games, just results. CarEdge is run by a father and son team who are as car obsessed as we are. They've been featured in the Today Show, Consumer Reports, and the Wall Street Journal. Their mission is simple: help car buyers win. And I love that. And here's the best part. Our listeners get 25% off either service. Just head to caredge.com/thiscarpod to claim your discount. That's caredge.com/thiscarpod. And it's time to stop letting dealers have the upper hand.
Okay, next question. Filippo has got a dry erase board.
I can erase it.
We don't have paper in this office.
Well, I don't want to waste it.
We don't waste paper. Okay. All right. The question is as follows, and this is a good one. This is our first rank. There's going to be a few today.
Okay.
Rank every generation of Range Rover. You know, we don't even need paper for this.
Yeah, we don't.
You're right now.
Well, let's just say them out loud. Range Rover Classic, the P38, the L322, whatever the one after that.
L405.
Right,
And then the
current
new
one.
one, which is the something or other.
The
But you
new
can just say new. Okay.
You're going to put the...
The P38's last. It just is.
Yeah.
I mean, the P38 is probably my favorite Range Rover, to be perfectly honest. But it is so
bad.
raucously badly built that you can't put it as anything other than last.
I don't disagree with that. Even the original is...
It looks better than every other Range Rover.
Totally.
It has a wonderful
I
seating
don't know about
position.
that.
It has a smooth powertrain. It's last.
I don't think it looks better than every other Range Rover.
I think it absolutely
I think in this
does.
color with these wheels, it does not. But I think a very
come
nice,
on.
a black 02 is probably one of the best looking SUVs ever, if not the single best looking SUV of all
Really?
time.
Okay, first of all-
a black 02. Yeah, that one, but that one.
First of
that
all,
one.
the E53 X5 exists, so
And what did they base the whole E53 X5 ethos on?
I know, but
Actually,
it looks
they worked
better.
with them specifically.
The E53 X5 looks better.
No, it's a
I don't-
curvy thing.
And it's got those lumps on the...
Okay, yeah, the headlights isn't the front isn't the best look. But
This is a very
This is the
classically
best looking
good
SUV ever. It is the worst Range Rover.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
If
it is-
you were
both are
driving that
true.
in 1999, you might as well you could buy or sell people like a pen. Which, by the way, you didn't use because you had assistants following you everywhere, writing down everything you said.
That's right. Yes. Take a note.
by the way, one of the highlights of the movie, The Parent Trap.
Yes. Okay. So P38's last. We agree on that. Do you agree on that? Oh my God, you're not gonna. What are you gonna say is
He's
last?
going to put the new one last because it's kind of...
The new one?
No. The new one's a great
The new
car.
one's not first on my list, by the way.
Okay. What's first on your list? If you don't
The
say,
L405.
But you, oh my God. I can't, I'm done. We're done. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming to the podcast.
I don't know if I believe that yet.
405.
I got to think about that a little more.
Okay.
I am putting
go
it.
Ponder.
I don't think the P30. I think P30 is second to last. I'm putting the classic last.
Oh
What?
my God. What?
No, that's
I
not
was
true.
going to
That's
put
not
it
true.
first.
I'm gonna put.
Okay, well, that's also insane.
I take it back. I'm gonna put.
You know what the hard part about this is? None were great.
I'm gonna put the right. You know, normally it is picking between a lot of great cars. This time it's like picking between a lot of bad cars.
It's pretty easy to rank from the bottom
All right.
up, but I don't like any of my
I'm not
options
putting
at the top.
I'm putting. It's hard
It's
Yeah.
hard. But I'll tell you what the
because
answer
the
is.
405.
The L405 is
Might be-
it kind of made Range Rover a successful brand again.
The 405 is second to last.
Wow. Respectfully,
might
no.
put it-
It had the
We don't-
timing chain issue. It went to 6 cylinders. They never quite
a diesel,
had.
though.
They
Should I
never
support?
quite had the king of the road feel that the first 3 generations had. You get an L405, it feels more like a car. A P38 or an L322, you get in that thing, you feel like you own the people around you and they are your subjects.
And I did love your L322. And when I see a nice L322, I still legitimately get excited.
I wish we could separate 03 to 05
No, you can't,
L322
though.
from
That's the
06
issue.
to 12
That's the
L322.
issue.
I have a new take.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
'Cause you're saying that the P30 is last because of its unreliability. Well, they all will be that way.
It's not
the new one is
you don't
only not there
understand.
because it's not.
You don't
old
understand.
yet.
The P38, all of them are unreliable. The P38,
I don't know, Nick's was pretty good
If
other than
you
when it stranded.
look at it, the air suspension fails, the electronics fail, the heater core fails. There is not a single Land Rover shop in the entire country that doesn't have 7 of these sitting in the back, unclaimed, because there was a repair bill that was more than $1,200.
It's only because the classics all rusted away.
All right, let's look at that. Coil spring conversion.
The other ones aren't old enough.
Coil spring conversion. Coil spring conversion. Coil spring conversion.
This one's at a
coil
motor
spring
swap.
All right, you put in a new motor and some springs. You know, I mean, what are you gonna do? Look,
I'm going to revise mine to not put P38
I don't
last,
think I can
only
put the
because of the
P38
iconicness.
For Christ's
I'm going to put it
sake.
second to last instead.
After what?
I'm putting-
What's last? What's last? What do you put below
what do you
the
put
P38?
first? I don't even know like what to put first. The
I'm
new
gonna
one
put
is
the new one below
theory.
the P38. The new one is a great car, but it doesn't improve on the Range Rover in any notable way. And it's not dissimilar from or different from or better than any of the other luxury SUVs that are for sale right now.
You're
I
gonna put-
totally disagree. It is still the gold standard.
So you're gonna put the.
Still the gold
So
standard.
by your logic, the 405 should be the best.
I do think the 405 legitimately innovated in the space.
Oh my God. Because it was a mass broader appeal. The first 3 have exotic cars. Okay, look, we got to finish this because this is
I'm
going
gonna put-
Range Rovers. I'm going to tell you what the answer is.
All right.
L322.
First, oh God, I don't want to say 322 first.
Yeah, but
got
you're
it.
going to.
You're going to.
You're going to
Then
say it.
classic, and then new, and then there you go. That's actually a pretty good ranking. That's
You're
actually a
saying
pretty good ranking.
L322 classic.
L322, Range Rover Classic, new Range Rover, 405.
You know
P38.
what?
That's mine.
Incredibly, I'll get behind it.
Wow, you agree with mine?
I think
No, I
so.
would put,
Wow.
I would put P38 where you have classic.
My
Second?
Second?
I
What are you
love the
putting
P38.
first?
I love
I'm
the
leaning into the
P38 too, but I'm a
P38.
human
Then
being.
the new, and I put the 405 at the bottom.
I have places to go.
The 405 was a great car.
Yeah.
So what's first for
but
you?
the P38, like the classic, is an icon.
What's first for you? The 322?
I think the 322.
I want to be very clear here. We both have ranked the L322 first. This does not count the 03 to 05 models. Those are
correct.
utter, do not buy one of those.
Unless it's for sale on Cars and Bids.
And no,
Sorry.
and if this rant makes people never sell one again on Cars and Bids, thank God.
Yeah, when I think of a Range Rover, that is still what I think.
The
Yeah.
06 to 12s are really great cars. Okay, next question.
How do we get away with it? This is the first time we've done a ranking, and Instagram will agree.
Well,
No, I don't know about
I don't
that.
think that's true, but Instagram
Instagram
generally
likes-
prefers, I've looked at the comments and I've generally seen that Instagram prefers the rattiest as the first. No, they would be
P38 are
P38 guys.
too ratty to be ratty.
Okay, here's a great question from Joe with a 0. Where is the floor on the previous gen AMG GT?
Oh.
Boy, that's a good question. Pull up our sales.
Not low enough. No, they're less than you would think.
Hit lowest price.
No, there's so much less than you think.
These cars are selling
61.7,
routinely in the
63.
low 60s now.
I think they're going to keep going down.
They are exotic looking.
This car has 14,000 miles and sold for $63,000. This is a bona fide exotic car.
So with 28,000 miles, you got to assume like.
And that was 6 months ago.
Wait, how many miles is this
These cars are in the 50s.
38. This one had 38,000 miles and sold for 62.5.
Solar Beam. These cars are in, I'm telling you, these cars are in the 50s.
They're such good looking cars.
So the question is, where's the floor?
I think it would go down a little bit more, but I mean, it's a pretty great value as it stands.
Why do we think there is a floor? What's a 17,911 cost?
Double that.
Yeah, way
Double,
more.
120?
No, but in the high.
No, but they're like mid 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an
It's
exaggeration.
wild. This is a wild thing that's happened. By the way, the four-door GT63 is the greatest four-door car I've ever driven in my entire life. Wow. I'm going to say it.
Okay, all right.
What do you got? What do you think's better? Lucid Air?
Yeah. No. The GT63 is a special car. I think there is a floor because there is a floor to that level of combustion engine performance.
I guess, but
I mean,
but
The V8, I think
Where?
at some point that becomes much more desirable.
I think these cars make it into the 30s.
I think at 30s is where my head went.
I think, yeah, for a tired one with some bad
Or like,
mods.
I don't
and
think
a
we're
lot of
that. I
miles.
think you're wrong. I think when they're just 15 years old, they're going to be generally in the 30s.
I don't know. That shape for 30, like that seems kind of, I don't
didn't
know.
say 30, but like
in 30s.
37, 33 to 37 for
it's gonna
like
be-
an okay one.
Keep in
So
mind,
is it going to be between this and a Gen 1 Viper?
no,
Are going to be in the same
keep in
price
mind,
tier?
Yeah.
that's what a DB9 costs.
Yeah.
And that's a gorgeous
Yeah,
car
but the
with a V8.
DB9 is cheap because it is unreliable. As I've done more research, it turns out that it has a lot of
I
problems.
think there's a presumption that these will be unreliable as they age. I think,
No, I did highly disagree.
but I think German cars depreciate because of that presumption.
But
Whether
that-
or not you think it will.
I don't think, yeah, but this engine's in everything. I mean, it's.
But I
this
think-
engine's notoriously reliable.
It might be, but my point is that they end up with a reputation for potentially having issues. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand that. I want to do research on if these actually do or not.
But I don't think that matters. My point is, used Mercedes
know you're-
AMG cars always lose value because people think they're unreliable.
I get your point. That applies to most four-door normal AMG cars. This is a very serious-looking sports car.
No, but
I'm
he's
like,
right.
I don't know.
Vantages, DB9s. Vantages are reliable.
SL63s don't, like once they're 10, 20 years old, are in the below 30s.
But
And
that,
that's
again, is
not
more.
a similar
Why
car.
is that different?
But I think because, like, if you're talking about public perception, most people will look at those cars and just think it's kind of an old SL. This doesn't look old, nor does it look like an SL.
Give it time.
It looks more like a
Give it time.
supercar
It'll look
rethink.
old. And keep in mind, the SL was renamed to be this in the next generation.
Yep.
I think you're exactly right. Maybe it'll go lower than 30s. I'm saying 20s.
No.
Floor?
There's a floor.
Dude, what's an SL55 cost? $8,800?
Yeah.
Truly. What's an SL55 cost? How is this any different?
think-
The only difference is 14 years. Pull up lowest price.
Well-
I bet you can get one for $8,800. 10,450. Same thing.
I don't think it's just that. I mean, these were focused, this era of Mercedes-Benz AMG was focused on speed, not handling performance. The more modern, much more modern AMG GT is a better handling, better driving car, and that will keep it appealing to enthusiasts at a certain price.
Well, this
We'll
is
see.
more related to in most people's eyes, I think, the SLS than this was the SLR, for instance. Like, this is more related, looks more like a supercar, like in a lot of people's minds. So,
All right, we got
I don't know.
20s, 30s, and apparently like 100 grand.
no, I think it's gonna be like somewhere in the 40s. I think is probably where. But I mean, still, so you lose 10 grand on one if you bought one of that one or this. I mean, like,
Yeah, no, they're either way. Even if it gets into the 30s, you're talking years. They're pretty good buys now.
Yeah, it's a solid
But they did lose value quicker than I expected, and they are still going down. And I'm pretty impressed with it. I'm shocked at the value prop here. And I think especially a good value prop is this GT63 four-door. And I want one. I want one bad. I saw one today. I was in the Courier GT. I saw one today. He's coming
You
towards
did?
me. GT63 four-door. He's coming towards me, and I'm looking at him like, oh, and he didn't even see the Courier GT.
I will say,
which is a perfect example of why I don't really like those cars. It's the
I
stigma of the
agree,
people who
but
drive
the
them.
way they drive is these cars are so athletic. It's amazing how they drive. Truly amazing.
I will also say none of what we said applies to the GT53 four-door or the GT43 four-door.
Those
which
are going to the zero.
6 cylinders will be worth zero.
Eventually.
Going to zero.
Okay, next question. This is another beautiful question. Do it like Trump. Say beautiful question.
Another beautiful question.
All right. From Haziel. What do you think? This is a great one for us, Kenneth. What do you think is the least desirable car worth over $1 million?
Oh man, I could give you a lot. There are a lot of cars I cannot believe are over $1 million.
New Countach is really deeply up there.
On that list, firmly.
But there's a lot.
There are a lot.
Can you name some?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Pagani Huayra, New Countach, Lamborghini Sian, Lamborghini
Most Koenigsegg's.
Aventador FKP 57 or whatever it was called, Lamborghini Centenario, Lamborghini of Reventone, Lamborghini.
Picking up
all
on a
those
thing.
super low production, stupid Lamborghinis. Yeah, most Koenigsegg's. Only because they're incredibly unreliable.
I'm sure
Sorry,
there's some BS Jerry Seinfeld 356 that's $1 million.
That is actually a great example. Any air cooled that a normal person couldn't tell apart from another air cooled that's over $1 million is number one on this list.
If it looks like a bathtub and it's over $1 million, it's
number one on this list.
on that list.
We know
not
it so badly. We know it so little that it doesn't belong. Okay.
Well,
what
I mean,
else?
when it makes 43 horsepower, I can't really be bothered with that.
No, McLaren Sabre.
Yeah, it's
You don't even know what
I do it,
Sabre.
actually, surprisingly.
I mean,
Not the same.
and to be clear, a lot of people will think these cars are. It's hard to justify. It's hard to underscore how much $1 million is.
It's
It
$1
had better
million.
and especially because that car is $1.3 million, and that's better than all of them.
Yeah.
So like,
new Ford GT.
Wow. Well,
those are not $1 million anymore.
No, they're not.
I love when we make friends on the show.
No, but I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that is like crazy. These supercars that were made just to make rich people feel special,
Right.
To me, do not have significance.
And back when we were young, like when an Enzo traded hand for 1.2, it was like, wow.
Huge
I mean,
deal.
because there were only a handful of cars in that realm that weren't like super vintage Ferraris or like whatever. But like, remember when a Cuda sold for over $1 million? You remember that? For the
Yeah,
first
I
time?
mean, the
there's
boomers,
one that's like
the boomers were paying big money for that stuff at the time. I got to be honest with you, I find those cars to be more desirable.
yeah, I probably would rather have those cars. But there's so many cars that are over $1 million now, and I just don't think that it's not $1 million.
So many cars over $1 million that were just made to be really rich guy jewel cars.
Toys,
like they're not like the cars that were over $1 million before were because the market felt they were worth $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the cars that are over $1 million now, Lamborghini comes out with a rebodied Aventador, calls it a Countach, prices it at 2.8.
Well,
and then the only people who buy them are rich guys who never drive them, who think because they got a call to buy one that they're special. And the market has shown that that's not a lot of interest in those cars. They're dropping like flies on the used market.
Right. At one point in the past, that was true. If you got that call to buy an Enzo,
Yeah,
you were special.
That's right. That's exactly right. There was a time when if you got a call to buy one of these cars, and now, as Ed Bolian told me, he said, people come to me and say, I got an allocation for this. And Ed told me, he said, the thing I asked the people is, did you do anything to deserve this allocation? And he said, if the answer is no, you probably don't want the allocation because that car is going to depreciate like crazy, which we're already finding.
It's a very fair point. So that's the nuance there. I realize that these cars are all crazy and stuff, but like that's the.
Can you spec an SF90 to over $1 million?
No, you can probably get
I saw
close.
880 was the highest. I saw.
But there's now that SF90 high performance one.
Well, yes,
So probably.
maybe. Boy, there's no. Yep, add that to the list.
Yeah, truly. Okay, next question. So the answer is there's a lot of them, and I've gotten to the point where I really only respect the $1 million cars if they weren't $1 million originally, and the market has kind of taken them there. There are some exceptions to that, like the Bugatti Veyron, the Bugatti Chiron, the Pagani Zonda. Probably wasn't $1 million originally, but it's been a long time in $1 million.
No, it was nowhere near $1 million.
Yeah. There are some others too, if I really thought about it. I actually really do like the Reventone. I mentioned it only because I was going off. But
yeah.
But you get my point. Like, I think a lot of the newer crop of cars that don't really, for me, $1 million better buy you the greatest driving car of all time or the fastest car in the world or whatever. When it's just a rebodied car that is low production just because it's low production, it's not special.
By the way, if you own one of those cars and you decide to sell it because Doug doesn't like it, sell it on Cars and Biz.
Doug read a mean Doug's take for you.
Debt doesn't just show up one day. It builds little by little. Credit cards, car loans, medical bills, and suddenly you're juggling payments and feeling stuck. But here's the good news, you're not stuck. You just need a reset. At American Financing, they help homeowners like you every day. They use your home's equity and roll that high-interest debt into one simple, affordable payment. And they're saving homeowners an average of $800 a month. No judgment, no pressure, just real solutions that put you back in control. Imagine breathing again, sleeping again, knowing your future is yours to shape. It starts with one call, and it only takes takes 10 minutes to get started. And there are no upfront fees, so it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you start today, you may be able to delay your next 2 mortgage payments. American Financing's salary-based consultants are ready to listen and ready to help. Take back your peace of mind with American Financing. Call American Financing today, 866-885-1881, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Doug. Check out AmericanFinancing.net/Doug or call 866-885-1881 to learn how homeowners are saving $800 a month on average. NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Okay, next question. There's some great ones. From BBB914, question for everyone. When you think of a Ferrari, a Porsche 911, or a Lamborghini, what do you think of? Okay, so.
Easy.
A Ferrari. What do you think of when you think of a Ferrari?
It's just the prototype one I grew up with.
355.
It's the F355.
What do you think of? A Ferrari. Trying to think of it right now.
I'm trying to think too.
To me, it's like, I don't know if I think of an exact car, but it is definitely a red tan mid-engine. It's either a 458 or a 488, I think. Something like that. A Ferrari.
Interesting.
When I think, it's a Ferrari. That's what it is. When someone says to me, hey, I have a Jeep, I know they're talking about a Wrangler.
Right.
When someone says to me, I have a Ferrari, if someone is to say that, my presumption would be they're in a 458 or a 488.
It's not a Mondial, but it's like, although it is mid-engine red.
Somebody says they have a Ferrari.
308 GT4.
A Ferrari. Like, to me.
An F430 for some reason.
Yeah, maybe F430.
Age-wise, that makes sense.
Same.
Okay, what about a
same.
Porsche 911?
930.
Oh, damn. Legit.
First car. There were a bunch in my hometown. I remember seeing them all the time.
I think of a silver 991. What do you think of?
I was going to say a pretty base 997.
Pretty base 997. A Porsche 911 to me is
Really
like a
reflecting-
silver 991.
There was like an era, which was 997 era, when in like every movie, the rich-ish guy drove a 997 coupe.
Yeah.
And that's just where my head goes.
I guess, but to me, when someone says I have a 911, they probably have a base 991.
No, I think that's fair. I don't disagree.
But when you think of 997, or
911, I think 997.
What about
No
a
sport car.
Lamborghini? A Lamborghini.
Thinking too much.
I think today you'd think Huracan. I think Gallardo.
Yeah, I think Gallardo y Huracan.
I think
some entry
Mercy
level.
is the first one that comes to
Wow,
mind.
Really?
Good for you.
The black mirrors.
Your brain is great. You have all these wonderful
I grew up
visions.
I'm telling you.
But
I
when
grew up in a
when I hear Lamborghini, I'm thinking about a Huracan. Like that's a Lamborghini to me. That's kind of a prototypical.
Somebody comes up to me, I own a Lamborghini. Yep.
They got a Huracan.
Yep.
But when someone says a Lamborghini, like if someone is telling me a story and they're not into cars and they say I saw this Lamborghini, my assumption is they saw a Huracan.
They did.
That's true. When
all
I
they
hear
saw.
that, I'm just saying from my own perspective. That's
And if it's
Right.
all a Ferrari, I think you're right that like a 458 is, or like a California, a red California.
It could be
something red.
California, but
Something
that
red.
in that context, I would think of a California. But still, when I think of a Ferrari, I think of a
Yeah.
458.
You know what it is? When someone said, "Oh, I saw a Ferrari," what was it? It was probably a 911. It was a McLaren. That's what they saw.
Yeah.
Or it was an Alfa Romeo 4C. and
What's
they
the
thought
one
it was
that
a
starts with M?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, Maserati. It's a Ghibli. 100% of the time, people are.
Which, by the way, no floor on those. Okay, here's a good question from Frank AP. Rank the decades of cars from the 80s to the 2020s.
No.
Oh, that's pretty easy.
Okay. We agree that number one is 2000 to 2010, the 2000s.
That was peak. That was our 60s.
It gets, and I hate to be one of those people, but the worst is now. The worst is the 2020.
Have you seen 1980s
Yeah.
cars?
The worst is the 2020.
The
I don't agree with that.
Everything's tip and plug.
Countach, 280
But average
GTO.
car. I don't think supercars. Obviously, my brain never goes to supercars. And average cars in the 80s.
I didn't even consider average cars.
Yep. Nope. Sorry,
Didn't enter my mind.
In that case, actually, well, that does change things if we think of it.
But it's
do we
a
want to
good
think
point.
of
It's a good
totality?
point.
I do agree with 2000s.
No, I
first.
think he's right that you should rank them all.
Okay. I still think we have a pretty good point. There are a lot of really good normal cars between 2000 and 2000.
No, 2000s for sure.
I think for sure.
Agreed.
Honda was killing it at the time.
Yeah,
And
2000
was
was
good
great,
cars.
man. Everybody had an NA 4-cylinder and a V6 in their midsize.
Yep,
You didn't have to
everybody.
figure out where it was a plug-in hybrid or
Names kind of made sense. Like,
Yeah.
man, we sound like the elderly now.
That's tough.
Okay, but that was a good era for cars.
a good era.
Just look behind me and see the two cars behind me that hail from that era.
Yeah, I don't know. What that
You
is.
wouldn't go to me for that shot. Okay. So, then it gets harder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then it gets harder.
I think I have to put 80s last.
Okay.
I just think that the average car in the 80s, even sports car in the 80s, just were not
There was some garbage
at the top
in
of
the
their game.
80s. When it was that weird transition coming out of the 70s.
Yeah,
And
out of fuel crisis into
And carburation.
slightly better
Carburet.
versions of that, but like really early tech, they've aged poorly. I will also note, knowing cars and bits data, 80s is by far the rarest type of car we sell because there just aren't that many great enthusiast cars from the era. In the US, the Germans were not large yet. You were not.
I
seeing
wrote
people
that article about how 80s cars are bad and everybody hated it. But it was
because
kinda
everybody just thinks of exactly what I did, the F40 and you've made a point that no good cars were made in the 1980s.
no good cars came out of the 80s. I really believe that, except for the very end.
Right.
However, a lot of good cars did come out of the end. The E30, the F40, the Countach Anniversario.
959.
Yeah, the 959.
Those are really nice.
935.
Speaking of 959, there's a fellow in my neighborhood who parks a
959?
991 in his driveway, and it's a 4-car garage. And I figure if he's parking a 991 in his driveway, he's got a 959 probably. That's my assumption.
Aren't they like, they've depreciated again. There's like $60,000 cars now. I mean, it's still something to have outside. But like,
He's talking about the 991.
I'm saying 991. 959s haven't depreciated.
Okay. The next, this is really hard, but I think that I'm not going to put 80s last. I'll probably put the 10s next, then the 90s,
Yep.
then
And
the
it's-
now.
So you are going to put 80s last. As the
No,
end
then the
result.
80s, then the now.
Wow, you think the 80s cars are better than today's cars?
No, well, I'm not, by the standard of today, I'm not judging these by the standard of today. Should I be?
Yes, of course.
What's are you judging?
What? Well, it's to me, it's more about like how good were they at the. I mean, if you want me to judge stuff by the standard of today, then the SP3 is better than the F40. Then the Cali T is better than the F40. We have to judge things by what.
Break it.
Well, no,
let's cut that clip. The Cali T.
The Cali T is better than Daytona.
Well, yeah. Okay, it can
Right.
be
Well,
taking into account the
What happened
age
in the
and-
time? I mean, I think.
I stick by that.
I think mine is right. 2000s and then 10s. 10s were good stuff. We were starting to get a little hybrid. We were starting to get a little automatic. But
Still
90s,
got manuals.
90s, there were a lot of very rounded designs and not much power and bad quality. A lot of cars got plasticky and bad.
But I would say from the beginning of the 90s to the end of the 90s, you gained a lot of power. Like everything got a lot better. Build quality got better. Design got better. Like everything. The 90s were a really special time. And that transitioned into what we love in the early
Here's what
2000s.
let me tell you, when I think 90s, you meant to, what I think about. I think about Acuras
Yep.
with cloth seats and 15-inch alloys. And wait, this is going to drive the point home. Those long transmission levers that made a T at the top that you push the button in and then shift it into gear.
But I
That's
also
the
think
90s.
about the
Love
Ford
it.
Explorer. my
That was bad too.
But it
The Explorer was,
created
right?
the modern
Think
era
about
of
the
cars.
Explorer. Cars got transmission problems. They rolled over with tire
it
issues, and they recalled 4 billion of them in cash for clunkers and destroyed them because nobody wanted them.
Okay, that was a lot of terms that did not make sense. And you said they recalled
I mean,
them
yes,
as cash
they
for
recalled
clunkers.
them, they recalled
for
them.
cash for clunkers.
Just
Yeah,
as
the
bad
government said, bring them on back.
as bad as the cars you've just spoken about were, there were some amazing cars that balanced it out.
You're talking about the F50. Specifically, you're talking about the F50.
McLaren F1, EB110,
The 97 Accord.
993.
993 Turbo S. Like, I mean, there were really, I mean, it was
E39 and 5.
E39 and 5, 1998, when it came out in Europe. But
Still,
yeah.
I prefer the 10s because the 10s gave us the 918 Spider, which is an amazing automobile.
Yes, you love it so much.
No, the 10s gave us the 10s got us technology and goodness and reliability.
And still had some analog in there.
So my ranking is 2000s, 10s, 90s, 80s. Now, what's yours?
It's not far off that. It's not
hear
far
it.
off that. I
But
think,
yours is 90s after.
I think 90s after 2000s and then the 10s. Just
Okay.
because it's such a high
And then you do
concentration.
80s are
And then
better
20s,
than the
and then
modern era?
nows or 80s. Wait, before you say anything, let me remind you about the Hyundai Kona. You plug that thing in, dude. It's not even a car. Back in the 80s, you know what cars did? They go. And now, you know what cars do? They go.
So you've never been around a
No, I-
Dodge Reliant, I take it.
I think I agree with him. I think I agree with him.
With
But
who?
Him.
Him. Oh.
80s.
All right, well, you guys are not going to agree with anything that I'm about to say.
Okay, well, no, we're in agreement with first and last here.
Filippo's
so.
going to put it in reverse chronological order. That's
What do you
exactly
have next? You're going to agree with us, except you have 80s last instead of second to last. You're not going to put 20s
So
next.
the issue with
be
the
contrarian.
current era is that we are very much in a transitionary era. I think like cars are transitioning.
Well, like, yeah, a
to
lot
something
of
a little bit different.
transitions in
And
those eras.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all were.
Every
tough.
era is like that. We're always changing. It's never the same. I mean, even when the car came out, it changed every decade. A 1918
What I mean by that is,
underslung is very different from a 1928 Packard,
What is going on?
which is different from a 1938
as
Cord, which is different from you don't know what I'm talking about. My point is,
Think about the underslung.
which obviously I know a lot about.
American underslung is a great look.
The 80s were an era of transition from after the fuel crisis into figuring out how to make cars that were relatively fuel efficient,
Rank
and decent.
the car.
The 90s were becoming the modern era. SUVs were becoming big, larger cars. Japanese really took hold, and the Europeans really took hold in a meaningful way. The 2000s were the pinnacle. 2020s are a transitionary era into electric and trying to figure out what is the right.
The cars.
Look, we understand your justification. You're trying to avoid the hate in the comments.
No, I don't want to
put 20s now.
No, I don't.
He does
Next.
deeply.
Rank the cars.
90s, second.
So you're over here saying we're different from you.
Yeah.
You got Kevin's exact same ranking.
No, we differ on 20.
So 2000s, 90s, 10s, 20s, 80s.
We're more aligned.
I will
than you.
say, here's the interesting thing about these rankings. Okay, I'm going to hold them up. Can you see me?
Can you see it? Can you read it?
Here's the interesting thing about these rankings. All of us put the 80s and the 20s last. So now and the oldest that we were given. And we all put the 2000s first.
Yeah.
To me, the 2000s were kind of the pinnacle of the combustion engine era. And it was before tech took over too much, and just so many great cars came out of that era. It was the last era of that we could really get away with some of the stuff that happened.
I think it was maybe the first time that the technology had risen to the point where the cars were really fast, amazing to drive, reliable, and they have longevity.
Yeah,
and the design was great. The sizing was nice. It was like
and you weren't quite to the tech thing yet, where you had big screens that are going to become outdated and problematic and all that. It was quite a period.
You had little bits of it, but it was enough to put up with because the cars were so amazing.
It's also pretty amazing how, if you compare an 80s car to a 2000s car, so 20 years, the performance difference is unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you compare a good 2000s car to a modern car, performance difference isn't that significant.
I mean, that's notably different.
Well, but in what way? I mean, a Plaid is faster than Carrera GT, but you're starting to get into a level that is unusable, right? And it really isn't. Therefore, it's not really effective. Like, whereas a car you bought in the 2000s that was a good car feels fast even by today's standards.
I agree. And that's also, and that's why the values on those cars have gone up so dramatically. People have realized that is like...
You're once again talking about supercars.
Well,
no, not necessarily
supercars.
Think about when SRT launched and they had all those 6.1 Hemis with 425 horsepower. Those were legitimately fast cars that still feel fast. I get into a Grand Cherokee SRT8 now, or a Magnum SRT8, which I've never driven, but I get into one now. I think it's fast. A B7 RS4, I think, is a fast car. Those were good. Those cars had modern performance, which you can't say about the 80s. C5Z06 is a good example. Even normal cars, a Honda Accord in 05 had 240 horsepower. That was enough.
V6?
Yeah.
I think the 2000s, especially early 2000s, were the traditional car perfected. And then at that point, after that, you have to figure out, okay, how do I actually make this fuel efficient? How do I adapt
the
to
traditional car perfected? And do you know what? All this perfecting was done over all these years. Let me have the remark. All this perfecting was done over all these years, and you know where they got the very top, the pinnacle of perfecting?
Oh, God.
I will say...
Pagani Zonda.
05.
Thank you.
05 was kind of the end of the 2000
gauge.
No, I think it went into 06, 07. I will say 08, 09 was starting to begin the hybrids, the transition to automatics.
Cost cutting was huge at that point.
4-cylinders starting to replace V6s, which was sad for us. We like the good 3-liter.
There were no good GM products from after.
Oh, that's
06.
true. The recession took hold and that killed some stuff. And also
pre-recession took hold and killed some stuff.
Well, 07, 08, 09.
06, 05, laziness.
I agree with you. I think that the 2000s, the sweet spot is about 02 to 07 for really the good stuff.
Yeah,
the Tahoe hybrid was not part of the good stuff.
No, but 20 MPG City.
Gosh.
Which actually at the time, I looked this up the other day, at the time the Honda Pilot got 18 cities. So the Tahoe hybrid, that was actually pretty real.
We are off the rails. Hit us with the next question.
Tony Soprano's Suburban asks, if you could Sterratify other sports cars from the modern era, which would you choose? That's a good question. The 959 did it first.
It did. Like for Dakar.
If you could Sterrato-ify other sports cars for the modern era, what should you do? 911 is a good example, but they did it.
All right.
Did it?
Well,
The R8 Sterrato would be cool.
they kind of did that. It's called the Sterrato.
But I'm thinking of the
Love the
R8
platform.
stick. First gen.
A lifted
Dot
first gen.
two.
All right. So wait, I'm sorry. The question was modern cars. So
Yeah.
cars that are currently in production.
Can I make a statement here?
Sure.
Mustang. Remember there was talk they
yeah.
were going to do this?
There was.
And when I thought about it, you know what I thought of? The Rally Fighter, the local
Yep.
Motors Rally
Yeah.
Fighter.
Yeah.
Which is a lifted Mustang, but with Civic taillights.
Yep. Interesting decision not out of space.
It's not that it was a decision. I missed it. You don't know how hard this is. Go back to sleep.
I'm going to be honest. I did it once, and that moment learned how hard it is.
I'll take the apology. But yes, the rally.
So this is when they said off-road Mustang, this is what I thought they were going to make. And instead what they made was nothing. But
The Mustang Mach-E Rally. Come on.
yeah, that is unfortunately what's happened. That would be cool. An off-road Mustang, I think, would be cool.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's be honest, every Mustang guy has a truck or wants a truck. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
Give them what they want.
296 rally car would be pretty cool.
Yeah, Ferraris are too fragile.
Yeah, don't forget they did the 308 rally car in the 1980s. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Yeah. Do you know about that?
No.
It's got all sorts of Italian graphics on it. You'll love it.
Oh, again, missed it. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that is cool.
Look at that. Full opposite. Well, pretty close anyway. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Anyway, 296 with those graphics on it.
Yeah,
and lifted
Ferraris are
cool.
too fragile.
Yeah. Also,
They
the
are.
styling doesn't work for off-road.
New NSX.
New NSX. Off-road new NSX.
New Supra. TRD Pro.
Yes.
Pro Soup.
That works, oddly.
I don't know. All, to be honest, is the answer.
I mean, any car that it's done to is cooler.
there should be a off-road version of
Silly,
every new sports car.
Hey, Stradman, if you're listening, go put some tank treads on the Super you guys have.
You think Stradman's going to do this for us?
I think there's a chance.
Filippo, this I think is something that we have to do for ourselves.
Maybe Stradman will beat us to it.
What about the Challenger? Nah,
Nah.
too big. What about the Z?
Too heavy.
Yeah.
The answer is all of them. I would buy any and all. And by buy, I mean think about buying and then not buy, like I did with the Sterrato.
Talk
Although
about-
I got close.
You got close.
I was talking.
Man, did you get close.
Remember walking around on Nantucket talking to the dealer? Okay.
Wow, gee. Thanks. Flex. Talk to your Lambo deal in Nantucket.
Okay. I know, but that's unusual. Okay. Today's episode is brought to you by True Classic, the makers of really, really nice shirts and other garments that actually fit. Look, I'm a style icon. My signature 2 t-shirts are known around the globe, but sometimes I want just one nice fitting shirt that's comfortable in all the right areas while adding a bit of definition to my appearance. True Classic has one mission: to make sure guys look good and feel even better. And they've nailed fit, feel, and price across your entire wardrobe. Not just tees, but hoodies, jeans, activewear, everything you need to level up your everyday style. And True Classic isn't just about great clothes. Their brand DNA is built on being highly intentional in everything they do. On their website, you can use their amazing style guide, which has you enter details like your height, weight, age, and other brands that fit you well to ensure that you're getting the best fit. I've been wearing True Classic for a while now, and from the first piece I put on, I knew it was different. Snug where you want it, relaxed where you need it, no weird bunching, no awkward tight spots. Just a clean, effortless fit that works. Forget overpriced designer nonsense. Skip the cheap throwaways. True Classic delivers premium essentials built for real life. Grab yours at Target or Costco or head to trueclassic.com/cars to get hooked up today. Again, that's trueclassic.com/cars. Next question from Paragon Bids for everyone. Realistically, how many years would it take for ICE cars
Internal combustion engine.
to be a thing of the past? How long until they're just gone?
I think a lot longer than people realize, based on how things have been going recently.
I don't think in our lifetimes.
I don't think ever.
No, I mean, like, gone as in, like, truly there are none left on the planet, or, like, currently in production?
He's looking at me. He knows he said something
I
insane.
did say a little insane. I think
Ever.
like
2,000 years, you're going to come back.
ever was not the right term.
I'm going to come back.
I don't
Like,
see that happening fully in
Jesus.
the reasonable future.
You mean in your lifetime, which if, in your opinion
Or
is ever.
the subsequent one.
What? So, I'm sorry.
The subsequent one?
Just clarify that to me again. So, like, you mean there are none in production anymore? Like, manufacturing
Not
just
just
making
production.
EVs?
No,
Just
not
all
production. I
together?
think he's saying how long would it take for the way I'm reading it, how long would it take for them to be a thing of the past? Like ICE cars are just something that you read about in history books. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think horse and buggy is still around? Are you going to sit here and be like, well, there are some people
yes.
in
Have you
Amish
been to the
country?
Absolutely.
Okay, so basically your point is horse and buggy never went away.
I think that there will always be people that share it, and always, meaning in modern civilization until that all collapses, there will be people that want to keep some small number of special cars running. Legitimately.
Well, and like with synthetic fuels and stuff like that, I think it will
Now,
potentially be
mainstream,
possible.
much sooner than that. But
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
there's a long tail to that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
In production, 20 years.
But no, I think I don't disagree. Our entire lifetimes will be able to hear an internal combustion engine. We'll probably own them.
I will.
Yeah.
Well, you won't.
Nope.
You won't go, really? You won't own your Fiat Panda 4x4?
Nope.
EV swap it.
God, can you imagine?
I think that it's going to take an enormous amount of time.
I genuinely think it will be generations.
I think it's going to take an enormous amount of time for them to be gone. One of the things that I think about when I think about this is New Jersey's license plates. And I think you'd
Okay.
agree. All right, here's my analogy. 1959, New Jersey comes out with a license plate. They've never replaced it. So you could keep transferring it. So in theory, you could have had this license plate since 1959 and always had it on your car forever. You could, to this day, the 1959 New Jersey license plate is still valid, okay? But what happened was, as the new ones come out, 85% of plates are gone within a couple years. But you drive around New Jersey and you will still see a few of the old 1959 straw license plates, which are still available and which are still around on some cars. That's still valid. So I think that's going to be the same with ICE cars.
Yeah.
You like that?
You think any teens are driving around with the little red square on the
Yeah,
side of it?
absolutely. You'd see blue plates with the red square, and those came out like early 80s.
Wow.
Okay.
In
Because
New
you
Jersey,
can,
if you're
you
a
can
teenager, you have to put a little red square on the side of the split.
Before, I mean, and even after that, they'll be relegated to museums and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think
There'll be in museums, but I think that people, I agree that it's going to be a lot longer than people think. I think that it's going to, in our lifetimes, there will still be ICE cars driving on the road, all, like around.
people love cars. And ultimately, like, I still think that there's something to a gasoline engine that is exciting.
Yeah.
At what point will it
Whether
be,
it's in a one-cylinder car from the late 1800s or now, like there's
Well,
something
but also it's just hard to replace them, and they're still being made in massive numbers. Massive.
at what point will they be less than 1% of like vehicle miles
Way
traveled?
in the future.
Well, and don't forget also, there are markets that depend on it. Like
Yeah. Sure.
Africa as a continent depends on diesel, like internal
The
combustion.
concept that in a lot of these emerging markets that EVs are going to take over tomorrow is like laughable.
Yeah.
This is like,
It's like-
an American and European like luxury thing to even discuss it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question from 172 Pilot. He has two questions, but I'm only going to ask the second one because it's gooder. What cars would you guys like to see heritage editions of, like the stronger than the 1980s G-Wagon?
Ooh.
NSX.
Right.
What would that be?
Okay, they take they make a new car and they make it a manual and a V6.
Oh, so it's just a different car entirely. Not unlike the stronger in the 80s, which is
You know
which
what
is
they
a
do?
paint color and a little script.
Here's what they do. You call it the 1990s reboot version. You make the new NSX, but without the hybrid stuff and with a V6 and a
So
manual.
you want an entirely different car?
No, the current NSX, the existing extant
With a different
NSX.
powertrain, a different-
No, same powertrain. Just pull off the hybrid stuff.
So a different powertrain?
No. I think of hybrid powertrains as like a blanket. You can take the blanket off, and you still have the person sleeping underneath. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Man, you have tortured so many metaphors today.
And you hook that person up to a manual transmission,
A different powertrain,
and you
yeah.
got yourself an NSX 1990s reboot edition. Akira, if you're listening to me, for God's sake, this is an opportunity.
I think that's a good product planning suggestion, but not in the spirit of the question.
Okay, fine. What do you have then?
I think it would be cool for some manufacturers to do, like the 80s and 90s cars, and we see this in the Japanese cars that we get submitted and in the European ones, had like cool fabrics and like weird funky designs. Like they used like the Fiat Multipla had color fabric everywhere, had weird seat designs. I think you could like make a regular normal car, like a new Grand Highlander, but like make it a little funky.
Okay.
Or the Jetta John Bon Jovi edition.
Okay.
Something like just like vaguely reminiscent.
Those are Filippo. That's a Filippo idea. Like take a car and just make it's like slightly different seat
Which is
pattern. That's
literally
like a
what the Heritage Edition is.
Here's what I'm telling you. No, but they did the old wheels and they did the old paint colors.
Okay,
And they did the
fine.
orange turn
Fine.
signals.
Put
They made
some-
it look like an old car. That's the point. Because
sure,
the
do
old
that
car
too.
is an icon, whereas an old Grand Highlander is not an icon. However, I got an idea.
Okay.
New Ford GT, old Ford GT edition. You take the new Ford GT. Is there a hybrid powertrain in that, like a blanket? Do you have to remove that? No, you're good. You put a manual transmission in there.
Oh, sure, easy.
Well, you'd have a packaging issue because there's no room between the seats.
Yeah.
But you know what you do? You get rid of the passenger seat.
Wow. Make it an SP1. Rich dude wants to be alone. I'm really struggling with this because, like, I was thinking, again, in my terms, along exotic cars. Ferrari kind of did this with the 70th anniversary cars. They did a bunch of different weird, cool, like, callbacks to their old heritage,
Sure.
like, with just, like, appearances. But that's not really what we're looking at here. We want something that's even more...
The Wrangler could do it.
The Wrangler does.
Should-
The Wrangler, they
could
do
it
do it.
more,
They
though.
do like Willis versions.
But they could go further. They could change the headlights to look more like...
Jeep does it. They do colors. They do like old graphics and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I'm really stumped. I'm going to have to think more on this one. I
very
do
good.
think the Stronger Than the 1980s G-Wagon is
Is brilliant.
one of the best
It's really good. Now
executions I've
you
seen.
could make an argument. The another iconic car from that era was the 911, and you could like do like a fake
but-
impact bumper and like old Fuchses and like
that would be cool.
and like a whale tail that looked like that. But I think Porsche is one of those Porsche does do some heritage stuff, but I think they're one of those companies that is more like Ferrari. Like we've always been setting design trends. We're going to keep doing that instead of like go back to the old days.
I do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going too far. That I'm stuck in my mind because like the Renault R5 Turbo thing, the electric thing that's coming out is
which I
like
love.
That's a good.
that's one of my
good example.
That's I love that.
Here's one.
Just wish
Here's
it had
one.
a gas engine.
Here's one.
Cut it.
Hyundai Ioniq 5 XL edition. Okay.
Yeah.
They make it look like the Hyundai XL from
The
1986.
I guess in this case, the G-Wagon Stronger than the 80s does look like the old G-Wagon.
Yeah.
But that's by happenstance, not...
No. Pull up an Ioniq 5.
by design,
Pull up
but-
a Hyundai XL hatchback. Pull up a Hyundai XL hatchback. Type in Hyundai XL hatchback. You can type in Pony if you want. That's what it was called in some markets. A hatchback. I don't want to see any sedans.
No, we certainly don't.
And I really would prefer not to see alloys. Some of those cars had alloys. That's not. Yeah, give me that. That's the Hyundai XL. The Ioniq 5 doesn't look that different from this car. Okay.
Wow, that is a rough one.
Yeah, there's no nice one, even in new. You do an Ioniq 5 with these wheels, with some faded paint, with cloth seats, right? With an old-time seatbelt chime. You know what I'm saying?
Or
You know-
the seatbelt retracts for no reason.
Yeah.
There
yeah.
is something to having base models and like having steel wheels.
Yeah.
Like, there is something to that.
Ooh, and call it the XL edition.
And call it the XL.
I think the automakers want to make money, though, and I think more base models is not there. It's not really in the card.
No, but I mean, Mercedes is doing it, right? I mean, the Stronger Than 1980s has steel wheels and kind of looks very basey, but they're charging a ludicrous amount of money for it.
Yeah.
So.
Truthfully, this really only works for cars where we are nostalgic about the old versions.
Yeah.
And we're not nostalgic about that many old versions.
No.
In a way that you could bring it into the modern era.
Right. They haven't and also the reason it works with the Mercedes is it, like you said, it's a continued lineage. So you can go back to points along it. So there aren't that many cars that have been, the lineage has been in production for.
I mean, and think
50 years.
about somewhere they've tried it and it hasn't worked. The T-Bird. Yikes. Right?
I have a soft spot for it, but yeah, I agree.
But it doesn't, the new Countach,
New Countach is probably the best example of that. Yeah.
it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Mercedes did it
Agreed.
well. Okay. 2 or 3 more questions. Okay, next question from Liberty, but it's spelled without any vowels.
Oh.
What is one car manufacturer that makes regular-ish cars that you most want to see make a halo car? Some examples of this happening was like the Ford GT, the first-gen Audi R8. This is a great question because one of my favorite types of cars is normal cars, companies that make supercars. The Ferrari GT and the Ford GT are both these, and I think that these are the best. Porsche makes Macans, dude. Don't look at me like that. He's looking at me. I
Porsche
don't know if that was on
has
camera.
a strong history of making some of the best sports cars.
Okay, fine. But these days,
Ford, I
they
agree
make
with.
40 times more four-cylinder SUVs that lease for
I'm not giving you
$799.
the Carrera GT as a halo.
But
I mean, it
the
was a
point
halo
is-
car,
the
but it was
point
not
is-
a regular car company.
The point, though, is a good one, which is that Porsche, unlike Ferrari, Porsche like knows how to build a car that needs to last for
But that's not
200,000
the-
miles.
Ford,
Or
I
20
will
minutes.
give you. Ford, I will give you.
The Ford GT is the Carrera GT is to an extent is a good example. It's not quite in keeping with the question, but it's clearly not like Lamborghini, Ferrari, right? Like Porsche is more of a. So the question is, who do you want to do it? I'll tell you the answer. Honda.
Yeah.
They make the greatest manual transmissions. They gave us the
NSX.
fantastic NSX, the original.
The NSX.
Well, okay, yeah, give me that back.
I was gonna say Toyota, because they've taken a turn for sportier lately, and sportier and off-roading-y. And I think it would be cool to see what they come up with if they were tasked with a Halo car.
I am curious.
We
They-
did
they
see a Halo
become-
car from them once, and it wasn't all
I
that
know
great.
you hate the LFA. I know you hate the LFA.
Love it.
But they've taken very much a turn towards sportier again. And off-road sportier. And I think an off-road Halo car would be cool too.
And if the LFA had a dual clutch, then how would you review that car?
If the LFA had a stick, it'd be cool, and if it
Stick.
looked good. So if the LFA made two big changes, its complete design and its complete powertrain,
I think it looks cool.
I
still
think it would
looks
then be a good car. Now, maybe then they could have sold them. The correct answer for this is actually Cadillac.
They have a Halo car, the Escalade IQ.
No, their Halo car is called the
Celestic.
Celestique.
Celestique.
Nobody knows.
Celestique. Okay.
That's an IQ. It's not real.
And it's obviously
That's an Italian
insane.
you don't recognize.
It's electric. Nobody wants it. What we want to see Cadillac
Supposed to
build.
be- it looks cool.
We want to see Cadillac build the CN.
Yeah.
Which I tried to buy.
Yeah.
And until they do that, we can't take them seriously as an automaker. By the way, Lincoln should also do that.
Can I ask a question? A Halo car we all assume needs to be a sports car.
It does.
What is Mercedes-Benz's Halo car right now?
G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Right. That's my
Well,
point.
the Project One is technically.
Nah.
But
G-Wagon is clearly their Halo car.
Yeah.
So so
They
it needs to
will
be
tell
a
you.
sports car.
They
So
would tell you it's this.
How about BMW? By the way, I actually
BMW.
legitimately think that Cadillac and Lincoln are good answers here. At the end of the day, Cadillac outsells Lincoln 3-1, and both are outsold by Lexus and Mercedes-Benz, BMW, et cetera. If only those brands would Lincoln is trying to lean into this luxury thing, but I think what they're forgetting is that like a lot of interest comes to a car company because young people and enthusiasts are excited. That's how the Navigator got off the ground in the first place 25 years ago. And what I want to shake these brands, Cadillac included, and be like, guys, get young people first. And Cadillac figured that out to an extent with the V line. Like they really went hard with V, and it has paid off. Like Cadillac has it. When I was a kid, it's hard to explain how elderly
Uncool.
and uncool Cadillac was.
The STS,
The standard of the world, give me a break. The standard of the world in retirement communities all the way from Des Moines to Indianapolis, you know? And that is totally different now. It's not, it's still not quite on the level of the Germans, but it is way further. And Lincoln, as wonderful as new Lincolns are, and they are wonderful, they still haven't got a cool image that I think would be successful. And we all know that Ford makes some pretty cool sports cars. You know what you do? You make a Mustang Lincoln.
Or a
better known as the Cougar.
Better known as the Cougar.
Or a Bronco.
Or Bronco, like I already, I've heard that
All
before.
comes back to Doug's
I
ideas.
would love to see BMW do a supercar, but they refuse to.
I
They
think one of the
absolutely
reasons,
refuse to.
you know, I think about this a lot, and I think one of the reasons BMW refused to make a supercar is because they've tried several times and failed every time they've tried.
Right, we'll try better.
I think the other
it.
point is like, do they need that Halo car? Their sports cars are already revered. Generally, a new M3 comes out, everybody's excited.
No,
about
I
it.
agree, but like they're the only German manufacturer that doesn't do it.
It's also weird that they don't try to do it because
They tell me they can't figure it out.
That space is really lucrative.
It
like
is.
BMW could have gone the Porsche route, had a Porsche type car, and now be making GT3s that cost $350,000 and are laughably embarrassing to look at. They could be doing that, and they never really.
No, they just stayed with their little boxy sedans,
Which works.
is fine. It works, but like and that's what I love them for.
And
but
instead, they make the XM.
Which, by the
but
way,
the M1, they could have built upon that DNA and done some. They never.
It was a failure.
yeah. And don't forget, BMW M.
Well,
built,
they trusted Lamborghini.
They built the car.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Everybody who has ever trusted Lamborghini has regretted it, except for the Mimran brothers.
And even they. But obviously, BMW M has done a custom car. The XM.
Right. Yes.
Hey, it's the only one they built.
The BMW Sirius XM.
Such trash. Okay, 1.5 more questions.
Okay.
Next question from Larry the Car Guy. Hey, Doug, what is the best U.S. state for car spotting that isn't California? Florida.
Montana, obviously.
Yeah,
Based on
they're all
the most registered
must be
cars.
crazy up there. If you were an alien that came to America, you'd be like, I gotta go see this Montana place. There's so many cool cars.
Yep, Miami is pretty good.
Yeah, Florida.
Florida's good. You're never gonna see anything old or like iconic. It's
Greenwich is
mostly
pretty
newer
amazing.
stuff. Connecticut in the summer, or north of New York, like Westchester, Rye, that whole area north of New York. Like even Bedford, like those areas are pretty nice in the summer. Southwestern Connecticut, New Canaan. There's some really crazy
really
stuff
good
that goes
stuff.
through there. If you just drive on the back roads, you'll eventually see some serious cars.
But all year long, you can see them right here in
But
California.
all year long, if you're in the Orange County coast, any day of the week, you might see a Chiron, a Koenigsegg, or an F40.
40, as we have done.
Never seen an F50 though.
Not yet.
Okay, this is the last question, and it's going to really rankle Filippo.
Oh no.
From Eden 07, rank all generations of the Mustang. Oh, I've been thinking about this one. I've been
Man,
thinking
this is
about
what you end with?
Yeah.
This is like ending with the uphill marathon.
Okay,
Let's go through the generations.
I'm going to go. I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm going to go through the generations. There have been 7.
Yeah.
Okay. The first generation apparently was all the way through 1974. So it includes like when they got big in the late 60s and early 70s. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like this car.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's included in the first gen. So the second gen was the second gen was the Mustang 2. Okay. So are you writing these down?
Yeah,
The second gen was the Mustang 2. You know the Mustang 2?
I do.
Then the Fox body.
Yep.
Then the SN95, which which I'm just going to tell you right now, the controversy will begin when we talk about the SN95.
Yeah, because are we splitting that with the new edge, or is that all?
Yes, we
us
are.
and
It's
that?
one generation, so it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
the 5th gen, which came out in 05,
What was the fifth gen called? I can't remember now.
it was called
147.
S197.
S197, right.
Then the 6th gen, which came out in 15, the S550, and then the new body,
What is the new body called?
S650 somehow.
All right, I'll start.
First gen.
It's an icon.
First gen's first.
It transformed American cars. Like it was one of the greatest names ever given to a car. It is without question.
I think that's true. Now, the commenters are going to argue with us because they argued with C2 being the first Corvette, even though we unanimously agreed on it instantly. I think the commenters in a lot of cases are a little bit too young to really specifically on Instagram,
The impact.
are a little bit too young to really understand the impact the C2 Corvette had on automotive design globally, and on the Mustang had on the car.
Totally.
But the Mustang, the first gen, we all agree on the
Also,
first gen.
you ask any person that's our age, hey, what do you wish your first car was? The Mustang that their elderly neighbor. Like everybody wants that early
That's right. Like what? Yeah. What do you dream of? Right.
pre whatever we're calling first gen, or early first gen.
Even the later ones though became very. It's funny. It evolved into an also very cool car.
Yeah.
Then after that, I'm going to say S550.
Okay. That's reasonable. That was an amazing car.
It's a really good car. The 50 is great. The GT350, 350R are some of the best
Amazing cars.
American cars I've ever driven.
You are? Okay, I'm gonna say second, the 5th gen, the S197, the 05.
Also
it's
reasonable.
hard
Also
to
really good.
explain. It's hard to explain what impact the 05 Mustang had. I was a kid then. I was 17 in 05. And the Mustang had languished. Like, I grew up not really caring that much about Mustangs because it had been a crappy car for my entire life, honestly. And then the 05 came out. They went to the retro styling. They put a big V6 in. They put a great V8 in. It was, obviously, the S550 and 650 have built upon that as better cars, but the S197 changed the Mustang's look forever. It went back to the retro, and the next 2 gens have basically kept that look, just modernizing it. And it improved the quality. It improved the desirability. The car totally changed. And Filippo has taken my my statement here and has put the S197 next on his list.
I would put it next as well.
I will put the S550 third on my list.
And then if we all agree on the Fox body after it?
Nope. I want to talk about the new Edge for a second.
I knew this was coming. Okay, here we go.
The new Edge gave us the Termi Cobra, which,
Cobra.
if I was ranking the Mustangs, would be top 3.
Yep.
The Termi Cobra, if I was ranking individual Mustangs, would be top 3.
Yep.
Let's go
Mr.
back to
Chrome.
what you said literally a moment ago. The Mustang had languished till the S197 came out. It had languished. We didn't care about it at all. Oh, right. What Mustang was that? The new Edge.
Well, but to his point, it's like the Diablo will replace that. If you were talking SE30, it would be in the top.
If it had been better as a generation, it wouldn't have languished to the point that redesigning it would have been the second best Mustang ever.
That's a good point. But the Termi Cobra, I think at least once a week about buying a Termi Cobra.
Yeah.
And
Who
I don't
think
think anymore about buying any cars.
No, who
And
doesn't? I
and
agree.
occasionally I'll see a Termi Cobra and be like, God, if I had
You'll
one of
see
those.
one?
If only I had one. No, you never see them, especially in California. Termi Cobra, and it had the Cobra R.
Yeah. Oh, love the Cobra.
It had the cool Mach 1, the blue Mach 1.
I'm familiar.
It had the bad Cobra that they lied about the
Yeah.
Power. Yeah.
power. So there's some fun going on. It had the original 94 to 98 body Cobra, which was cool with the silver 5 spokes.
So really just like SVT. Who doesn't?
Yeah, the base cars were pretty bad.
You're putting SN95 fourth. I am absolutely not doing
No,
that.
I'm not doing that. I'm just having a conversation. It's like
fact-
when Joe Rogan, I'm just asking questions.
Kenan, what do you put fourth?
By the way, last is Mustang 2. We all agree last is
Yep,
Mustang.
absolutely not.
I'm going to put the SN95 second to last.
By the way, not putting the new body on is starting to get a little sketchy
Actually,
here.
I'm going to put the S560 second last.
Oh my
S650,
God!
S650, sorry,
The new
S650.
Mustang is a great
S650.
car.
It's really not better than an S550 in any way, and it looks worse, and it's not better.
It's vast. The Dark Horse
The
has like 900
market
horsepower.
agrees with me in the fact that it's incredibly undesirable.
It's not that it's undesirable. I have a long rant about this that I've never told on the pod, but I just think coupes, two-door cars in general, have just kind of lost appeal. And I don't think the Mustang is, the Camaro's gone. I mean, everybody's like, oh, the Mustang's selling slowly. Yeah, the Camaro's selling even slower. Zero.
Sure.
Like it isn't, it's not the fault of the Mustang that the market has changed what it wants. And I think
Totally
it's still a really good car. It's definitely not as good as the previous.
Right. And
I think
I
the-
gotta say, Felipe, you ever been in a Fox body?
No, I have not.
Dude, I've been on a Fox body. Do you know what it is?
Dude,
Big
I have
cheap
been in a
power.
Fox-
Big cheap
I have been in a Fox body. My father-in-law has a convertible.
Really? And you think you'd
Yeah.
rather have that?
Your father-in-law had a convertible Fox body?
He still does.
5.0? He does now?
No way.
Why did we
Craig,
don't know this?
Shout out to Craig.
It was a stick. It's a stick.
It's a sick convertible.
It's a stick 5.0. Late or early?
I'm trying to. There's a lot of modifications that I'm trying to.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. So he starts out with kaggity.
At the moment, it's having some issues. The S550 is so good that it makes the follow-up being so disappointing. It pushes the follow-up down, even though it's not a bad
pushes
car.
it down to the Mustang 2.
Well, above the Mustang too. But I'm saying the first
But Filippo, you think the
S550
new Edge? You think the new Edge is worse than the new body? Come on, Filippo.
as a car, yes, but in the broader scheme, of what it
No,
means to be a
erase.
Mustang,
I'm not going to
no.
let you get away with
Nope.
that. Switch
Nope.
the new body and
Nope.
the SN95.
Nope.
You don't like the SN95. I'm the only SN95 defender sitting here.
I like the newest Mustang less.
Oh, that's
All things considered.
the worst take I've ever heard in my entire life. So I got first gen, I got 05, I got S550. My list is looking great so far.
What's next?
Now the internet wants me to say Fox body next.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna.
great. And then what?
And then the new car. And
So
then
after all that about the Cobra, you're putting it second to last. Fine.
it's indefensible. That car is indefensible. I love
So's the Curl.
And by the way, something else I want to say about the new Edge. 94 to 98 was the beginning of the SN95.
Yeah.
It wasn't edgy.
No.
The new Edge came out in 99.
Barely
2000.
edgy in retrospect.
The new Edge was edgy.
It got the taillights in particular.
If the new Edge had come out initially, I think we'd be having different conversations here. I think the
I agree with
94 to 98 sullied the SN95 so greatly. That is a nice looking car. You know what? Raise it on my list.
All right. Are you going to agree
Again.
with me then?
Yeah.
You could agree that S650 is second to last?
No.
Well,
No.
you want to
you
list
know
the
what?
Fox body?
I can't do that to the Fox body. It just meant so much to so many
It
people.
did, indeed.
And still does.
Bruce Springsteen wouldn't exist without the Fox body Mustang.
I don't think it's a great car, but it's iconic.
You simply listened to Bruce Springsteen in your Fox body in 1987. I mean, it's just what you did. There
Yep.
wasn't a discussion about it. It's just how it went.
Yep.
Look at those Foxes.
That
Yeah.
92 red one is...
Man. Okay. Okay, that's my list. So my list is first gen 197, 550, Fox, 650, SN95, Mustang 2.
All right,
Pretty good
Kenan,
list.
finish us off.
Kenan, finish it up.
All right. I think I'm going to put, after the S192, I'm going to put...
197. buddy.
S197, I'm going to put the... It's hard because I like a lot of versions
Yeah.
of the
is hard.
SN95, more than I do the Fox body. So I think I am.
That's a 95 fourth.
Oh, wow.
There.
You,
Then
wow.
the Fox.
you had the balls to do what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And then the new one, you guys are nuts.
I know the new one is so good, and I just wish there was some place that. The problem is these ones are so good in the middle. It's really
This was a lot harder than the Range Rover thing, which was.
frankly,
Woo! Okay.
because these are actually good cars.
There's some of them are good cars. Not all.
I will say the S650 is not a bad car. I'm just disappointed by the lack of improvement.
The worst Mustang ever was the 94 to 98 six-cylinder
Oh yeah, sit up in
SN95.
bed.
Yep.
Pull up an SN95.
Or according to Kenan, the fourth to last.
No, it's, in
Well,
totality,
because,
Filippo.
to
The
be
other ones are
honest,
so good.
most of these are new edges.
We don't think
even
we've
really
hosted a V6
sell.
one.
Go to lowest price because that's where it would be.
That's where it'll be.
Nope.
Even these, I actually didn't mind the GTs. We've never hosted a V6.
No, we have not.
Well, there you go.
I love that. I love seeing old listings. The 1995 Ford Mustang GT from 2020 we referred to as really nice.
Yeah, we were a little.
Look at that 94 GT. That, to be honest, though, for the money
Yep.
in the upper right there,
Yep.
$6,200 for a one-owner manual V8 convertible.
3-spoke or 6-spoke, depending how you look
I
at it.
wrote this one. I remember that.
You can have more fun than this for $6,200?
No.
I don't think you can. Tough interior, though. Then
Yeah.
again, they put it in the Panos Esperante. Okay, that's our pod for this week. Thank you for the questions. We'll be back to normal pod next week doing our normal segments. And you can ask us questions, carsandbids.com, and then click on the community tab. This was not our best podcast ever. Do you agree?
It was up there.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.